only mode.
Hello everyone, welcome to tonight's webinar. I have to apologize to you. We have had a lot of computer issues tonight trying to get logged on, and believe it or not, I was logged on since 6:30, and then all of a sudden at 7 o'clock it kind of left me and said I couldn't connect. So I do apologize for that, and hopefully everything will go well now. So my name is Bunny Gates, and I'm going to be your presenter tonight, and we're going to be, as soon as I get my screen to advance, we will. There we go. All right, we're going to be talking about scrapbooking projects and how you can use your software along with the Silhouette Cameo or the Zing cutters to expand your world of scrapbooking. I know that the Silhouette Cameo comes with a CD, but with our software you won't even have to open that CD. Everything that we do in our software will connect directly to the Silhouette Cameo or to the Zing or a few other ones, and it'll just automatically let us transfer what we want to cut to that cutter. So it's pretty cool because we don't have to use any other software. We can just use this software for a lot of different things. All right, so when you're going to scrapbook, you need to select your photo, because a lot of the scrapbook papers you choose will depend on the photo that you chose, because they have to coordinate and go well together. So I started by selecting a photograph, and the one that I chose was 4x6, but it had a white border around the photograph, and I really didn't want that on there. So after I trimmed off the white border around my photo, it was then 3.5 by 5 inches. So you do want to, look at your pictures, and there might be areas that maybe you just want to crop a smaller area and use a few different pictures on your scrapbook page. A lot of different things that you can do. So once you got your photo chosen, then you need to start picking the papers that you want to use. And all of your cardstock scrapbooking papers need to coordinate again with that photograph. So I chose a solid color for the background. I wanted to choose one that I could scan into my software and pick an element. In my case here it was an ornament, and then I could use that in my software and cut just one ornament that kind of went with that, but it was out of a different pattern scrapbook paper. So that was kind of fun to do. That way you can add more to it, and we'll go over that. I also chose one that had Christmas trees on it, and then I could cut those Christmas trees out and glue them on. And I also wanted one in stripes. So the stripes is what is framing my photograph, and it's also what I used for the ornament that I duplicated. So the striped paper, I cut a square, or not really a square, a rectangle, that was 4 inches by 5.5, and that gave me about 1/4 of an inch around my photograph, so it was kind of a frame doing it that way. And then I adhered my photo to that striped paper and set that aside until after I got some of the rest of the stuff done to put it all together with. And in the instructions that you will be able to download, it will tell you what size to cut the paper that I have on the left side, different things like that that you can do, because I measured for the little glitz, the crystals that are at the bottom. The measurement that I give for that is what's left on that paper, because it goes right from the ornament paper to the edge, to the right edge of the paper. All right, so I wanted to do my lettering first. So any true type fonts that you have on your computer, you can use in the Artistic Suite software. So that's really kind of fun. And if you didn't know, you are not limited to just what's on your computer. You can download free true type fonts, and there are thousands of them on the internet that you can download. So that gets to be kind of fun. Make sure you have enough time though, because if you're like me, you're going to sit there for a long time looking at all the cool fonts that you don't have on your computer, and you're going to be downloading them so that you can use those in your software as well. The one that I used for my lettering on the scrapbook page, however, was built onto my computer at the time. So I'll be telling you what the name of that is as we go along. So I chose my font, I added an outline to it, I sent it to the cutter, and it cut it out. I did it on the glitter vinyl because I really wanted it to sparkle, and it turned out really great. But there's a few things that I will share with you, issues that I had when I was working on it. And of course, it's very easy to scan your papers in, or whatever you have that you want to duplicate. You can use the scanner on your computer, or you could use the webcam if you have one of those on your computer. That's really cool to use too. So that can easily be done with our Artistic Suite software. Then you can just trace around that ornament and send it to the cutter. I also turned an embroidery design into a crystal template. So I wanted a little decorative swirly line to do my crystals on, and I could have freehand drawn one, but this was already done and I really thought it was kind of cool. So I just needed to delete parts of that design and then turn that embroidery into my crystals so that I could cut that out, my crystal template out, for placing my crystals. I don't know if you know, but there are over 3,000 designs to work with your software. In addition to the designs that we'll install with the version 6 software, there is also a folder on the DVD that is named Designs. Part of these designs, or actually the ones from that folder, are not installed in the hard drive because of the size of the designs. However, you might want to do like I did, and I went ahead and copied them and placed them on my computer so that it would be easier for me to get to. I tend to lose CDs, misplace, not lose them. So it just works out easier for me if I know where they're at. So we have a lot of designs to work with in this software. So let me get started with our software so I can show you how I did it. Now, first thing I did though before I went to my software was I went ahead and cut this piece for my ornaments on, and I glued that onto the page. So when I measured for how large I wanted Merry Christmas to be, it was so that between the ornament page here, the edge of that and the edge of here, it could be nicely placed and look good with it on there. So in the instructions it tells you exactly how large to cut this. So I went ahead and glued this on right away. My photo with the striped paper is still setting aside because I really wanted to put this on here first so that the photo would look placed well with that, with the letters on there. So let's go to the software and we'll do a few things with the software here. So when you open up your software, it wants to know what you want to do. So I'm going to create something new. So I'm going to click on Next. And then the fabric dialog box pops up. We're not going to be working with fabric, so I'm going to go ahead and just click on Next because it really doesn't matter. And then we hit the artwork source because it wants to know where I want to go to get whatever. So in this case, I'm going to be doing the lettering. So I just want to do New Graphic and click on Finish. Now on my screen here, I can see the hoop here. I'm also not working with a hoop, so I really just want to have no hoop available. So I'm going to go up here and where it says Manage the Hoop Options, I'm going to click onto that, and I'm going to select None for my hoop. And then I'm going to click on OK. I don't like distractions. It might not bother you to have that on there, so whatever works for you is what you're going to want to do. Over here on the left side of the workspace is my edit text. I want to click onto that, and then I'm going to click anywhere in my workspace to tell it that I'm ready to type in. So I need to go up here under my font name, and I'm going to look for, well, let me think, it's Matura MT Script Capitals. So fortunately for me, they are in alphabetical order, which I love that. So I'm going to, it's this one right here. I wanted something that was a little fancy, seeing as how it is Christmas time. And I'm going to, oh no, it did that again. When you choose your font, if you click before you actually take your, now I had the cursor here blinking at me, but when I change the font, I still need to come back down here in my workspace and click again. Or what happens is it jumps to a different font name. So I'm going to type in, and then I'm going to go up to my rectangle selection. That's up here on the left side. Click onto that, and that tells it that I was done selecting my fonts. So I'm going to now go up here in my tool options box above my workspace here, and mine is set for inches. Sometimes I work in millimeters. If I'm going to work in millimeters before I start my project, I go up under Tools, go to Options, and I can change my measurement system here. So I can do US or I can do metric. I want to use US today. And then you would click on OK. You would have to restart your program for that change to be done. So when you restart, then you would be in your inches. So now I want to change the height, which is this box right here. I'm going to swipe it, type in 0.75. And then I'm going to click into workspace here. And then we will zoom in a little bit. Now I want to go back over here to my edit text because now we're going to type in Christmas. And again, it already is on the lettering that I want because it stays right there. Go ahead and click in the workspace and then type in the letters you want. We're going to go to my rectangle selection there. Height again, 0.75. click into workspace, and now they're the same height. So let me just select this and drag it over here so that we can zoom in a little bit more on here. And I really want my spacing between these, like between the bottom of the M here and the top of the dot above the I would like it to be about 1/4 of an inch. So to make sure that I have 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to go over here, and on the left side you can see I have a measure tool. If I click onto that, I now have a little ruler that's attached to my cursor. So I'm going to go over here, hold my left mouse button down, and drag this down to the top here, and I can see that I would want that to be a little bit further down. So I would have to go back up to my rectangle selection, select one of these, move it, in my case, a little bit further apart. Then I would go back to my measure tool and measure. And that's about right. So sometimes it takes me a couple tries to do that. So I would just keep going back between the rectangle selection and the ruler until I got the space between those to where I like it. So I'm going to go back up to my rectangle selection, and now I'm going to select both of these by dragging a box around them. And when I have them both inside that box, I can let go of my left mouse button down. Now what I want to do with this is I want them to be aligned. So I'm going to go up to my alignment bar here, and the second one in is align centers vertically. So if I click onto that, it moved Mary a little bit over to the left. So now they're lined up perfectly. I also need to, if I'm going to send this to the cutter, I need to, because what I'm cutting on here is going to go with the wrong side up. So I need to mirror image Merry Christmas. So I'm going to click on Mirror X. And now I would be ready to go down here on the bottom, and down here in the palette box you can see I have 2 rows. The top row is choices that I would have for my lettering. On the lower part shows you what is in my lettering, and I can see from this that it is an outline. If it had a little paint bucket in a lower solid part of this, that would mean it would have a fill stitch. Now if you're unsure, you can always check it out over here under Object Properties to the right of the workspace. You can see we have the little pencil here for our outline. It tells me that there's a running stitch around it. If I tried to click on the tab with the paint bucket, I can see that it says none. So that's exactly what I really wanted to do. Now your computer might be like my other computer, and it might actually come in with a fill stitch on your lettering without an outline. So the directions that I wrote up are actually for that, because that's how my other computer came in. So when you see that, just make sure that, and I explained it in the directions how you would know. So if you have an outline for your letters, that's exactly what we want. So in this case here, I'm not going to do anything else. I would be ready now to send this over to my cutter and cut this out. Now I do want to save this because I always save things as I go along. So I'm going to go under File, Save As, and I have this little folder which I always keep when I'm working because I don't like to go looking a lot for what I'm looking for. So if I double click on that and open that up, I'm going to put this in there so that I can find it if I need it while I'm working on this project. After that, I'll probably create a folder in another location that would be for the scrapbook page that I'm just doing, and I would put all that stuff in there. Just makes it easier for me to work with. I have a lot of stuff on my computer. So I want to save this as a draw file. So I'm going to name it Merry Christmas. And the reason I'm going to save this as a draw file is that if I wanted to come back in later and work on anything that I'm working on, as long as I have a draw file, I can bring that in and continue working on it. Just easier that way. So if you just get in a habit of saving everything as a draw file, then if I'm going to do embroidery and I'm ready to send that to my embroidery machine, I will also save it as, in my case, a .jef for my Janome machine. So that way I have both files and I can do what I want to do. Okay, so we now would be ready to go to our cutter, and if you go up under File, Export to Crystal/Cutters, you get a box that opens up. Now before I would actually click onto that, I make sure that my cutter is connected to my computer and it's turned on. Then I go to Export to Cutters. I can go over on the left side here. You can see a number of things. There's the Zing, there's the Silhouette Cameo, there's the Silhouette Portrait, there's other cutters in here as well. eCraft, Silhouette SD, Folson, Red Sail, and a Jaguar. So this software will work with any of these directly, so you don't have to save it another way and then try to get it over to the cutter. This will work directly with these cutters. So you would select the one that you're going to use. Then you go over here in our Export to Crystal Cutters box and go to the presets. We want to, settings down here. We want to tell it how many passes to do. We're going to go ahead and leave it at 2. We're also going to do outlines, and I do want to cut frame on this. That means that it's going to cut a frame all the way around my lettering. Be nice and neat. So then what we need to do is make sure that our blade is set for the vinyl that we're going to be cutting. So what you would want to do is, first of all, get your glitter vinyl and your sticky mat, and you want to put the shiny side of the glitter vinyl down on to the sticky mat. Remember how I said it's going to be just the opposite, which is why we mirrored our letters. So we want to put the shiny side of the vinyl onto the sticky cutting mat. Now we have some arrows up here. We also have on the Cameo arrows that are on the Cameo itself. So either one would work. On my Zing, I use these arrows. So what we want to do is we need to do a test for our cutting blade. So we need to move these. We're going to load our sticky mat in there with our vinyl on it. We're going to use our arrows to move the blade holder onto where it would cut into the vinyl, and I do it close to the edge so that I don't waste a lot of my vinyl. And then we're going to do a test. We have a little button here that we would click on to test, and it would do 6 little holes in that vinyl. So then you could unload your sticky mat and test to see if you've got the correct depth for your cutting blade. Because if you don't have it, maybe it doesn't cut all the way through your vinyl. Or maybe it cuts way too deep and it's gouging your cutting mat. So these are things that we want to do that test to make sure that we have the right depth on our blade. So if you need to, you're going to adjust the depth of that blade. Then you're going to move with your arrows to a little bit different spot so you can run another test. This is worth the effort. So you do want to get that all set up. When I first got mine and started working, I tended to cut too deep. So it took me a few tries before I realized that I would be better off starting a little lighter with the depth so that I could increase it if I needed to instead of the other way around. So after you do this a few times, you'll get real used to doing that, and then it'll be okay. All right, so once you have your test done, your blade is set at the right depth, you'd be ready then to pick out where you want the orientation here. So we can, if I was actually hooked up to a cutter, I could choose different corners here for my blade to start. So knowing that it's in this corner here, when I use my arrows to move the blade, I want to make sure that it is far enough to the left that when it starts to move, that it has enough room to the right to actually get all the way over here and not go off the vinyl or go into an area that maybe you have already cut vinyl out of it. I use everything I have as much as I can of it, so I will have areas that are cut out on mine, and then the next time around I just avoid those areas. If you think you have it set, then push the trace button up here, and that will outline where the cut frame is going to be. So that way you can double check to make sure you don't need to move it with those arrows a little bit further over or whatever, because there's nothing more disappointing to get almost everything cut and then realize maybe the C is off into an area that there isn't any glitter vinyl. So make sure that you use the test and you use the trace. That way when you go ahead and click on the cut, you know that it's going to cut out exactly like it should. All right, so when you have that done, this box we'll just shut that box up. Then you would be ready to unload your cutting mat and vinyl, and you could then remove now that traced, framed section with your lettering and remove it from the sticky mat. Now, what you're going to do is remove the excess glitter vinyl from the sticky plastic coating that's holding that sticky vinyl on it. So you want to carefully remove that, and don't forget that we have a little area in the E and a little area in the A that you will also need to pick out of there if it's not coming off when you pick that up. I had to actually pick mine out of there. Can you see those little areas there? You'll want to pick those out. If you forget, you can really still make out that it's an E and an A, so don't stress over that. But the first one I did, I think the A ended up staying right on there. So now the next thing that is going to be an issue is when you put that sticky plastic coating that's holding our Merry Christmas to it so that our letters aren't just falling all over the place, that sticky plastic coating will stick to your scrapbook paper. And when you take that off, it might rip it. So what I did so that didn't happen was I took a little bit of powder and put it on my finger, and I ran my finger on all of the areas on that sticky plastic coating around the letters. I didn't go inside these letters. I was pretty careful because you don't want to get it on the back of those letters. If you get it on the back of the letters are not going to adhere very well to the paper, so we do want to be careful of that. But the powder worked really well. So I just went into these big areas and I really didn't have any trouble at all. Once you have that done, then you can go to your iron, place your Merry Christmas toward the top of your page, and you want it on the solid part of your page, not on your ornament paper, and then press that in place. And then carefully, just in case, I didn't have any trouble removing the plastic coating off of mine, but I did a little carefully just to make sure. And then that part of my project was done. So then I wanted to duplicate one of the ornaments. So to do that, I did use my scanner. I don't dare do that right now because I've had already issues tonight, so I don't want to push it. But I do have my scanned paper in here. So I'm going to go to File, New, because I want a new page. Again, we don't care about the fabric because we're working with paper. And this time, if I had my scanner hooked up, I would select Get Image from Scanner, and then I would click on Next. The scanner box would open up. I would do a preview. Oh, don't forget to put your paper on the scanner. Do a little preview. If it's straight and not crooked, or it looks like what you want it to, then go ahead and do the scan and then save that. And actually, this software, once you say scan, kind of brings it into here. And I do have those steps in here, although your scanner box may appear differently than mine because your scanner might be a different kind. So just follow the prompts when you get to there, but the software does really well. I'm going to go ahead and find mine from my file that I put it in. And that would be up here. And then click on Next. I want to open this as a backdrop, and you will as well, and then Finish. And we have our paper in here to work with. So now what I need to do now is to zoom in to the one that I want to use, and this is actually the one that I used. I'm going to bring this down a little bit so that I can get, where are you? Right there. Okay, go back up here. All right, so now here it is in the center here. And I did that because I didn't have arrows to or these little handles to use to move that around. In that case, I use my little pan tool here, because when I do that, then I can move things where I want them to. All right, so I'm going to go over here to my Create Freehand Shapes, and I want the Create Outline Shapes. I don't have the correct one here, but I see this little triangle here, solid black triangle here, that if I hold my left mouse button down, it opens up and shows me other options. So I want my Create Outline Shape. When I let go of my left mouse button, it opens up and I have it right here. So you may have to use the flyout menu to find yours. I'm going to click onto that, and now I can start clicking and placing nodes where I want them. So the first node that I place, I want to go up here, it's going to be a square. That means it's going to be like for corners, things like that. Now after that, they're all going to be round, which is great for this curved part. And I'm just going to go down, and if I was being really precise, I would be zoomed in a lot more. But for this, I just need to do it so I can show you how. All right, so now I'm going to hold my shift. Right here I have a corner, so a round one's not going to work. I'm going to hold my Shift key down on the keyboard, place my node in a corner here, and click. And that gives me the square. Now down here at the end, I want a square one as well. I'm just going to hold my Shift key, and now let it go, because now again I want round ones. And I'm just going to go around here, And again, up here, I want to hold my shift key, and it's complete. Now I don't really care if this up here is straight because it's going to be covered up by the top of the ornament. All right, so now we've gone all the way around. Some of it's pretty good and some of it needs to be smoothed out a little bit. That happens. All right, so if I right click, it selects it for me, but I still have that same thing on my cursor. Can you see that? It's because I still have my tool for create outline shape selected. So I want to smooth out some of this and do a few more things to this. So I'm going to go up to my rectangle selection and click onto that. Now when I come over here, I can see again that I have just an outline, which is really what I want on this. If you didn't have an outline and you had a fill stitch as well, then you would need to tell it none or go down here and delete it. So let me just click on here and I'll just leave that there. I'll show you on another one. Okay, so over here I'm not really smooth. So let me just, actually I did follow the paper pretty good, but I would want that a little bit rounded different. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to go up here under my edit shape nodes on the left side of my work area, and then when I click it, we can see the nodes. If I select a node, I can move it, I can delete it. I have little arrows here. I can try to smooth that out a little bit. So you can play around a lot. Maybe I don't like how high this one is. I can move that down. So this is what I would do until I had my shape the way I want it. Once you get that done, then we're ready to move on with that. So we're going to go to our next thing. So I'm going to go back up to my rectangle selection. So what I've got right now is I can cut out of my scrapbook paper my ornament shape, but I also want what's inside of it. So I'm going to deselect that by clicking out here, and I want to have an oval, but I don't want to do it right on this line, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. But let me zoom in a little bit more so that you can see this better now that we have the whole ornament done. I want to go back over here and select my create outline shape. So I'm going to click onto that. I'm going to go out a little ways outside of my oval, and I'm just going to click around. Now if I was doing this for real, I'd take more time, but I've already kept you guys trying to get on. I want to connect those, and I also would like to tell it I'm done with that. So I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to hit select my rectangle selection again. Now I don't want it the same color as my ornament, so I'm going to come down here, and I think I told you in the directions to click on mauve, but doesn't really matter. I'm going to click on that, and can you see it changed the color around my oval? You'll know why as soon as we get to the cutter. So now I want to also do these swirls. I don't want to cut the swirls, but I want to use the sketch pen on the Cameo, and I want to use the pen holder on the Zing. So I want to draw this on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start at the top here, and I'm going to again create outline shape, and I'm going to start over here, and I'm just going to follow these shapes around. I do not want to click on any nodes that I have previously put down. So I want to make sure that I just click around until I get this down. So I'm going to go ahead and click all the way to the edge here. I'm going to do a right click. I'm going to move down to this next row, and I'm going to do the same thing on this one. So just go ahead and follow your little swirls or whatever detail you have on yours that you would like to duplicate. I'll only do 2 rows, but on mine that I did for the page, I did right click there and jump down here and do this one. Oh, what the heck, I'm here, right? So I'll just go ahead and do it. This one's a short one. Again, make sure you don't click on a node that you already have. It connects things when you do that. So I found it was what I wanted to do was just click on that. So I'm going to then right click, and now I do want to go around the oval and connect all or go over those. I'm not going to click on them. I'm just going to go on our edge of that and now again, if they're not perfect, and connect them, right click, go to your selection up here, rectangle selection, and then choose a red. So now we have 3 colors. We have 3 different areas on here. At this point, I would be ready then to come up here and do that for the top of the ornament. And that is in the instructions, but I don't think we need, I think you get the gist of it, and it will be in the instructions, so you won't have to do that. All right, so, and I would, again, assign that a different color as well. So now I'd be ready to send this to the cutter. I have a couple different things it's going to do. It's going to use the marking pens, sketch pens, or the pen holder to draw the details. This is a cut line, so I can cut this oval out because this is going to be a solid scrapbook paper, where this part of my ornament is out of the striped paper. So again, this would be a cut line. So I would be ready to save this. I'm going to go up under File, Save As, and in this case I would save this one as Ornament, and again as a draw file. All right, so now we're going to go again, make sure that your cutter is connected to the computer, it's turned on, then we would go under File, Export to Crystal Cutters, and because this is paper that I'm cutting on, I really could get away with 1 pass. I don't want to cut frame on this because I just really, the ornament will pop right out. It's not like this is going to be adhered to anything later. I'm going to use glue or double-faced tape on this to attach it to the paper. So all I want is the outline. Now I have 3 different sections, and if you had the little top of it, I'd have 4. So I have red, I have the maroon, and I have a navy here. Well, I really want to just do the marking first. So if I come up here, I can select just the red, and look what happens. Now, when I send this to the cutter, the marking pen will do all of this. So what you want to do is you want to take out the blade holder that you have in the cutter. You want to put the sketch pen if you're working with the cutter, or the pen holder for the zing in. And then again, we want to do a test though, because we want to make sure that our pen is going to mark on our scrapbook paper. So use your arrows to move it over, and instead of holes that are cut out this time, it'll be the marking pen. So you'll be able to look at that and see, well, it's not really hardly marking. Maybe I need to adjust it. So you can do those things. Once you have that down, remember to move your marking pen to where this is going to start and do a trace to make sure that your oval and your markings are going to be in the right place. So you can see that this actually, look at all this space down here. This is because we will not, when we put our cutting blade in, we won't have to try to line this up. This is going to be lined up for us. All this space around this oval allows for the area that the bulb is going to be. So this is pretty cool. So when we line this up and we do our trace, it's going to do a much bigger area than where our marking pen is going to be, but that's what we want it to do. So go ahead and do your trace. When you have it in the right place, then go ahead and do cut. And when you do cut, in this case, it's actually the marking pen, and it's going to go around. When it's done doing that, then you come back over here under templates and you go to your next color, which is your oval cutout. So now we need to put our blade in. We need to adjust the blade, and it shouldn't have to be a whole lot of adjustment. It should be pretty much set as it was for the vinyl. I don't think I had to adjust mine at all, but you do want to do a test to make sure, because as your blade starts wearing out, adjustments will have to be made differently than what they were before. So keep that in mind. You always should do a test. All right, when you get that done, stay away from those arrows. Don't be moving your blade. That's right. In the instructions, it will tell you actually to do your test for the blade and the marking pen at the same time, because you're not going to want to do your test after we've done our marking pen for our oval. Okay, so you would do those first. You would put your leave your marking pen in, go ahead and do the marks for it, then put your blade in, and you've already adjusted it so it's ready to go. You could just go to this color and click on cut, and you'd be good to go. I hope that made sense. The instructions actually have you do it that way so that you don't get confused. All right, so now we would be done cutting that, but we still have to cut our ornament out. So go ahead and take that solid color of paper out and take your striped paper, put that on a cutting mat, put that into your cutter, and then now you do have to make sure that you use your trace. You don't have to do a test. Do your trace to make sure you have enough room for this to cut out, and then click on cut, and you've got your ornament. And then I just glued the oval onto the top of my ornament so that it really resembles the ornament that's in the scrapbook paper. So, and the top on mine, when I cut that out, was out of the glitter vinyl, so it would add a little sparkle to it. So that's what we did for the oval, or for the ornament. So now let's move on, and we're going to work on the crystals. I love crystals. I love the sparkle, and I'll be adding more of that later as well. So now we want to go under File, New, and again, no fabric, so next. This one I want to choose from embroidery because I chose an embroidery design to use for my crystals. So I'm going to go there, click on the Browse button, and we're going to go to the Creative Drawing Samples. And I'm looking for CDW. Nope, I lost it. 0033, I believe it is. Somewhere I lost it. Yep, 0033. So just scroll down and it's this little one right here. Now you might want to change the view on here. I could do that to large icons so that I can see them better, and I usually do when I'm looking for something particular because I can't see those little icons. So this is the one I'm looking for. It had that little scrolly line, and when I click on it, it shows up in the preview window here. The file name shows up here. So if you didn't want to look through all of those as well, you could have just typed in what we wanted for file name as well. And then we click on open. And it brings us back to our artwork source, and that's because the path to get to that is now in this box here. And then I can click on next. When it gets to the color reduction box, I'm just going to click on finish, and now I have my artwork in. Actually, it turned it into embroidery. It was artwork, now it is. So now I want to go to select all, so I can do Control A, or if you can't remember that yet, go to Edit, select all, and if there's a shortcut for these commands, it will show you a lot of them right alongside of it. So this says Control A. If you don't know all of them, I don't know all of them, I pick a couple at a time. I work on those. When I get that down, then I might move on to a different command to learn that shortcut. So do whatever you want on that. All right, so now I've selected all of it, and I want to change the size of this. I measured the distance between the right edge of my ornament paper and the right edge of my solid paper, and the distance was a little bit more than 8.5 inches. So I'm going to change the width of this to 8.5. And then I'm going to click into workspace here. Now I want to select the line, and I'm going to click on the line, and I'm going to move this out of the way. And now that leaves all these details up here that I don't want. So I'm going to just drag a box around this part of that design to select all of those, and then touch the delete key on my keyboard. So what I have left is my swirly line that is what I wanted. So now I need to select this, and my object properties box over here opens up, and it gives me some options of what I can do with that line. And what I want to do with it is I want it to have crystals on it. So I'm going to click on crystals, and I'm going to assign the size at a 6 millimeter. And I want spacing. Down here at the bottom of this box, it has spacing. I'm going to change that to 1.5, and then I'm going to come over here and click. And it spaced those further away. Now, there are some issues with this, and that would be that some of them are too close together. So if you see yellow X's on any of them, that means they're too close together. If you see some with red X's, let me see if nope, I don't have any. If you see some with red X's, okay, that means they're overlapped. So these two actually overlap where the other two are just too close together. So I need to move them. But if I click onto this, all of them are selected. So if you click onto them, you need to come over here. On the bottom of the object properties box, you can see it says separate to crystals. I want to click onto that. Again, they're still all selected, but now I can do a right click over here, and I can tell it to ungroup them. And now when I click on a crystal, first I need to deselect, I can now move individual crystals. So I would want to move that out. I'd want to, and it changed it to yellow because now they're just too close together. I would move that out. And then of course I need to kind of move these out a little bit just so that my line doesn't look jagged. So I would just move those around, and that doesn't look too bad. They need to have a space that is about half of the width of one of those crystals. Otherwise, if they're too close together, when the cutter gets it, it would end up a blob instead of two ovals or two round circles. So like right here, if I sent this to a cutter, it would cut it, but this would be a blob. So we do want to move those and make sure that they're spaced to where we have two holes in our template material so that our crystals can fall into them and they'll be set correctly. And then I would go on over to here and move these as well. Now, sometimes if I have them to where I have the red X's, they are way too close together, then what I can do with that is I can delete one. So you can delete, you can move them around, you can do things like that to make sure you have enough space between them. All right, so when you have them spaced correctly and you're ready to go, then we are ready to send this again over to our cutter. So this time we're going to put our crystal template material onto our sticky cutting mat and make sure our cutter's connected and on. We can load that sticky cutting mat into the cutter, and we're now going to go up under File, Export to Crystal Cutters, and you can see our design down here at the bottom. Again, we would choose our cutter. This time I do want a cut frame. I do want 2 passes, and I would take my cutter blade and I would have to adjust it now because my crystal template material is thicker than the paper was. It's thicker than the vinyl, the glitter vinyl was. So you would need to adjust the blade height and then again do a test to make sure that you have it the right depth. Then you're going to go ahead and cut out your template material. Then you would take this, and I have a box that I put my template over so that I don't end up with crystals all over the floor. So I'm going to carefully and slowly peel back my template off of my sticky cutting mat because I really want, and sometimes I have to poke those little holes out. Even though it goes all the way through, they just kind of don't want to leave. So I poke them out, or I slowly roll that and release it from the template, from that sticky mat, and it leaves a lot of those little holes stuck to that mat. Then I need to put my crystal template onto a backing board. My backing boards are full of these different templates that I've cut out because I use everything over and over again. So once I put it on that backing, that's where it stays. I have lots of them. So we're going to put it on a backing board. We're going to put this over our box so that any crystals that are going to be brushed off of our template fall into the box. And you're going to use the little brush and brush the crystals into the holes. We want the crystal side up, the pretty side looking at you. And sometimes you'll get one in there that wants to be a little tough, and you can, if they go into the hole and the wrong side is up, that brush will normally brush it back out again. I use the corner of the brush and I can, get it to pop back out of there. But sometimes you'll get one that's just hard to deal with. And then there's a little tool that you can get. It's called the Artistic Pick and Release tool. And that really helps to get those out of there and put them in the correct way. When you get them all in your, all of the crystals in the little holes, then you want to take a piece of the transfer tape and place it over all of your crystals press it down really well with your finger to try to make them stick to that transfer tape. And then again, you're going to slowly peel that back, because if you see one isn't sticking to the transfer tape, you want to use your finger and try to get it really stuck to that transfer tape as you're taking that pack. Once you get that off, then again we need to do that powder trick, because our transfer tape is sticky and we don't want to take any of the scrapbook paper off. So go ahead and use your finger to put some powder on the sticky part. Then you can place this at the bottom part of your scrapbook paper and press that in place. Now let that cool. When you get it pressed in place and you think it's good, let it cool before you test it, and then slowly again start removing the transfer tape. If you see crystals that are not adhered to your paper and still stuck to the transfer tape, you can gently put that tape back down, and that way you're not disturbing any of those crystals, and then you can go ahead and press a little bit more until it actually is stuck. All right, so let me go back to the PowerPoint, and I will. So if you look here at the bottom, you can see my crystals. Oh, I forgot to tell you. No, let me go back. I'm sorry. There was one more thing I wanted to show you, because there's more that I did to this. I actually added more crystals because when I put this on my page, I thought it needed a little bit more. So I went over here on the left side here, and I clicked on Create Crystal Shape. Now this is different than what we did when we put the crystals in place of the embroidery design. So I'm going to now go up into Tool Options up here on the top, and I'm going to tell it I want this to be 10 millimeters. And see how the crystal got a little bit bigger on the end of my cursor? And now I can click everywhere that I would like to add a crystal. Now if you get one where you don't really want it, it's okay, because you can always move these. You don't have to worry about separate to crystal. You can easily move these. So when you have them done, right click, and now I can select a crystal and just move it wherever you want them. Now I've already adhered these 6 millimeter crystals to my scrapbook page, but now I want these added to it. When I get them all placed, I can again go to my File, Export to Crystal Cutters, and look, it's added my 10 millimeters. You can see it down here, the whole design is there, but if I just click on where it says the 10 millimeters up here under my templates, look what happened. Now I've only got the holes for the 10 millimeters. And now I could cut a template for that. And because you can see through that transfer tape, it's easy to place over the 6 millimeter crystals to get them exactly placed where you want them. So you can just do so much with this software. It is so cool. All right, let me now go back to my PowerPoint. All right, so now down here you can see where I added the 10 millimeter crystals. And I also decided, well, once I had this down, then I put my photo on. I glued that into place. I cut some Christmas trees out. I glued them into place. And I wanted to add more crystals, because once I was done and got it this far, I thought, well, I need more crystals. Obviously, I need more sparkle. So I added crystals. I just went ahead and put my scrapbook page on my ironing board. I placed the crystals on my page where I wanted them. So I have some over here on top of the Christmas trees. I have some over here to the left side of my picture. I have some in the corners. And I added some up here by my ornament. Then I carefully put a pressing sheet, a Teflon pressing sheet over my design here, and it's one I could see through, so if I actually moved a crystal out of place, lift it up carefully and put it back. And then I pressed them in place that way. So there's lots and lots we can do. I used a marker up here to just mark where you would have the little loop to hang this ornament on your tree. And I don't know if you can really see it, but there's glitter vinyl up here at the top of my ornament. So it was fun to do because there's so much that you can do. All right, so don't forget to go to your local artistic dealer for more information about the artistic software and different things that you can do with it, because I'm pretty sure they're very knowledgeable and they can actually show you things that we haven't yet. It's really fun to learn all the different things. Now, the project that we did tonight is available right now. Usually we don't put it there till the next morning, but it is up there. You will be able to go see the video. If you want to see it again, then you will be able to go view that again as well. So you could write down, if you wanted to, this link right here that will take you right to all of the webinars. But if you're like me, I would write that down and I would lose where I put it. And then I would just go to janome.com and I would tell it what country, because it asked me that on my computer every time. And up at the top under, you will see where it says Believe in Creativity Janome, and then it has 3 tabs up here. If you click on the Project Center, then it will go to this menu, and you can see where it says Webinars. If you click on Webinars and then scroll down the page, this is where you will find the recording and the projects. So what we have here is, you'll find this is one of them that I did that is a video. It doesn't say video, it doesn't say webinar on it, but the ones in the darker blue, if you click onto that, it will ask you for your email address and it will take you to the video so you can watch it again. Any of them that have project instructions, which I always try to do, it will have that. You can download the projects that go with that webinar. And you can see over here, this is where you could click to register. Our next one is going to be December 17th. You can register right now if you would like to. Just click on here. This is one that I've had done in the past. Again, it's got a video. It's also got a crystal project, and it had an embroidery project. So you could download those instructions. This one here has the video. It has project instructions. It also has a scalloped edge image. Because I was working with an image that I drew, I thought I should give that to you so that you didn't have to look for a scalloped image. It would be there for you to use. So you can download that as well. And I hope that we see you on December 17th. This is the first night that we've had issues getting on with our computers, and I do again apologize for that. Our time is going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you have any questions or comments, if you could just email those to janome-webinar@janome-america.com, then we can get back with you and hopefully answer any questions that you have. And we love comments, so please send us an email. And thank you again for attending. And thank you for being so patient. And I again apologize for starting this late. So have a great night. Enjoy your software and be creative. Talk to you on the 17th. Bye, everyone.